list. We've got Agni. Agni is like the pinnacle of balance. He has been for a long time. When you think about balance, you think about Agni. A character that has the output, the characteristic to do a lot of damage, a good dash to get away. He's not OP. He does well if he gets ahead, you know, like you should if you're, you know, a god. He doesn't do anything super crazy. He's not going to do crazy damage from behind just because he's a strong character. His kit's not inherently OP. It's just a good kit. Everything about Agni is A. I would have a hard time not putting the B in B tier because of the nonsense. And honestly, that's probably where he belongs. Maybe even in B+. But he's a strong character. The problem is he's very, very squishy. He doesn't have any getaway capabilities outside of the hives, which you can kill to get rid of. He's very susceptible to ganks. Yeah, AMC can carry late game if you let him get there, but realistically, you should be ganking the AMC if you're the jungler and get rid of him completely. So, Pwash. Pwash is looking at this A+ tier. He does more damage than Agni, but he's a lot more unsafe. He did receive a nerf in the last couple of weeks here, perhaps a couple of months, where his ultimate does not slow anymore. This was a hindrance to Pwash, but he's survived through it. His damage output is still there. Late game, he can heal up a lot with his corpses. He's doing very strongly, but like I said, he has no getaway skill, and that does become a problem if you're going against characters like Sir Ket, who's so strong in the meta right now. Anher's totally balanced right now. You're not seeing Anher picked a lot because there are a lot of other ADCs that are probably better than Anher. You're seeing a lot of these ADCs in the A+ to S tier regions, but Anher really strong. The problem being that he drops off late game, and late game hunters are really in the meta right now. You're not seeing so much early game meta hunter domination outside of like Medusa. Anubis down in the C tier. Anubis not like the worst character in the game, but he's not doing super strong. You're never going to see him in the mid lane because essentially Pwash is a really good Anubis, right? Anubis, no getaway skills. Pwash, no getaway skills. Pwash, good range on his skills. Instant damage pretty much. Anubis have to stand skill. Some of them are like in melee range. My ultimate is a single target essentially unless they stand in a line. Like Pwash is just better, more handsome Anubis. Ao Kuang up in this S tier. S+. He's still S+. Ao Kuang probably in the top 4 characters in the game. Even post-nerf. For those that don't know, they nerfed the cooldown on his 3 from 5 seconds. It got nerfed to 7 seconds, and they reduced the scaling from 50% to 40%. But they buffed the damage on the dragon scaling by 5 per level, which ends up being 30 damage per rank because there's 6 dragons. Realistically, didn't touch Ao Kuang at all. He still does everything Ao Kuang does, mainly because they didn't touch the ultimate, which is what does 30% healing. Aphrodite. Aphro's doing a little bit better right now. She's in this balance tier. Healing characters doing better right now. They are, because of the weakening curse nerf, you're going to be seeing a lot more Aphrodite, a lot more Chang'e, Hel, Sylvanas. Any of these characters that have healing are doing pretty strong. She gets countered by Pwash, you know, stuff like that. But as far as her character goes, you have a hard time. I mean, running mages in the solo lane can be really hard right now because of the invade potential, particularly on Aphrodite. She's going to get invaded. So that means you probably need to play her in the mid lane. She doesn't have the strongest mid fight. But combined with the right set of characters, she can do a lot of good stuff. Apollo! Apollo's an A+ right now. He's just a little bit stronger than a normal hunter, mainly because of the global presence that he has. That's kind of what puts him over the top of being balanced. Being able to go around the map on your chariot, and popping people all over the map, that will always keep Apollo probably a little bit ahead of the curve. His clear is not so strong. His passive still allows him to be one of the best boxers in the game early, as well as late game still super strong. The problem is he's not the best necessarily at anything, right? He's not the best late game. He's not the best early game. He's just good at all stages of the game. But he's a very solid pick. Arachne down in B+. She's not doing super hot right now. She's not as bad as, you know, the B, but as far as insects go, she's doing pretty good on clear in the jungle camps. Her early game is really strong. The problem is her late game is so poor. Arachne gets to the stage where her 1v1 potential is so strong. She's a great boxer, but you get to the team fight stage, you can't team fight. Bada bing, bada boom. Now you're in trouble, right? Like, that's kind of just how it goes. Ares. Ares is pretty much perfectly balanced. The only role he's viable in is support. He can only play in one role. His clear is really poor. His damage output is really strong, but he is one of the easiest, if not the easiest, support to shut down. If you're playing Ares, I recommend playing something crazy also in the solo lane. The jungler can't be in the ADC lane and the solo lane at the same time. Give them too much to camp, and maybe something can get ahead in that regard. Artemis. Artemis is a little bit stronger than people think right now. She's up here in this Apollo type tier. Her early game not as strong as Apollo, but her late game is probably the strongest of any hunter in the entire game. The reason why she's much higher than the B, is her ultimate gives her CC immunity, and her ultimate is a stun, not to mention she has the root cripple. This really lets her do a lot of damage in the lane. She does pretty well with Bluestone Pendant. The Bluestone Pendant allows her to clear a bit earlier with the Hail of Arrows. Her steroid is the best steroid in the game for hunters with the attack speed and movement speed buff. But she is very susceptible to ganks, but with proper warding, you can pretty much outbox any hunter as well as destroy people with your ultimate. That's a pick to look out for. It's been doing very well in competitive play in both Europe and North America. Athena. Athena's up here in our S+ tier with our Ao Kuang, one of our few characters up here in S+. A big bonus for Athena, and the reason why she's up there is she's viable in support, solo, and jungle, and we've even played her in the mid lane. She can viably play 3 to 4 roles, which means you can pick her early. Nobody knows where she's going to go. She always has the full map presence, which makes her a great solo laner because you can always ulti over to the gold fairy. You don't need to waste an active on teleport, allowing you to get something else like Heavenly Agility Shell. No surprise there. She's been one of the strongest characters in the game for a very long time. Awilix around this A+ tier, just a little bit above the balance. She works well with different gods. She could be argued for A, the only thing being that if you have the right team comp with Awilix, she's very strong. Hebo, Vulcan, Geb, whatever. Any character that can knock up thrives really well with Awilix. Feather Step, one of the strongest abilities in the game. One of the very few characters in the game that a kill or two early can really snowball Awilix like out of control. Like really badly out of control. Bacchus. Bacchus isn't the worst, man. He's not like the worst character in the game. He's looking at this like B+ tier. Bacchus has B for Bacchus. He just doesn't have the clear right now, and that's the biggest thing for Bacchus. It always has been. Early game clear is very important in previous metas and even more so in recent metas. You have to be ready to get to mid-high rotations. You have to get ready for the purple buff now that it spawns earlier. You have to win the early game. If you win the early game pressure, you relieve your jungler from coming over, allow him to gank a different lane. As always, you make Bacchus to late game. You did it. Congratulations. You have an awesome spell in your ultimate with the Drunk. You have an awesome knockup. You have a great stun. You have decent protections with the Chug. But if you get bopped on early game and you're 6 levels behind, then you're never going to be tanking and you're never going to do anything. Bakasura. Bakasura also down here like B tier. He's just not very strong right now. He can't solo lane clear. He was fairly reliant on Hog in the early game for clear for solo lane. His jungler ganks are super poor, so he can't be played in the jungler. And he has no other roles where he's acceptable. You've seen people play him in the solo lane. He still does okay. He's going to get out-pushed, though, in a realistic situation, and he's just not going to do anything for your team. But I'd pick him over Anubis. Best, that's fine right now. Sitting here at A tier. Pretty balanced. People were really complaining about her clear in the jungle, but you don't necessarily have to play her in the jungle. You can play her over in the solo lane. She does really well with Bluestone Pendant. All of her skills will apply that bleed. You can look for the early poke from the Bastet with Bluestone. You can get early kills over there, especially if the other enemy is going Bluestone. You get a lot of damage put onto them fairly fast. Yeah, she's doing quite strongly. Pretty much at that point of balance, you know. She's not OP. She ain't OP, but she ain't bad. You ever been tri-catted? Being tri-catted isn't fun. She'll always be viable if you can tri-cat. Bologna up here in this S tier. Not quite the same level as Quang or Athena. Bologna's actually an interesting spot right now. Bologna, I would say, I don't have like the actual factuals with me, but I would say that Bologna has the highest pick ratio of any character in the SPL, not including bans. She is right at that tier where people aren't banning her, but they are first, second picking her, right? You're banning Khepri, and Quang, and Athena, and Geb, and whatever, and Wukong, and Sylvanas, and Janice, and whatever, right? All these like other characters that you don't want to deal with on your team, plus you know, a specific pick. You don't want to deal with Snoopy's Rama or whatever, even though he's playing mid. He goes Rama mid. So she's getting first, second picked all the time, and she's just getting a lot of play. Her win ratio is kind of low right now, which is interesting, but she's still incredibly strong. Cabrakan. Cabrakan unfortunately has no home. He's down here with Anubis. Cabrakan has no lane really right now. He's not competing with Bluestone in solo lane. His jungle clear isn't that strong. His support is atrocious. He doesn't really work that well with Mail of Renewal, which is in the meta. He's just very poor right now. Same thing with Chalk. Chalk is just, you can clear the lane with Chalk. You always have been able to. Go get Bluestone. Continue to clear the lane. You did it. You went from clearing the lane to Bluestone Chalk. You cleared the lane more. You're still not fighting people. He's just not doing anything crazy with Chalk. He's just, you know what? Never let Chalk come back in the meta, though. If you ever played against Chalk in Prime, you never want to play against him again. As that one video went where Zeus was talking to Chalk, and Chalk's like, but I bring the rain, how can you nerf me? And Zeus is like, well, now you bring the drizzle. That's basically what happened to Chalk. Hopefully he stays there forever. Chang'e. Chang'e. Chang'e's in this B+ tier. We've seen her come out into the competitive scene. I think we're going to see some more Chang'e play as the season continues, mainly because of the healing. She's just not finding great success over in the solo lane because of the clear that people are putting against her. Her mid lane is very okay. She's not, her ultimate's so strong, she needs to just get there though, right? She needs to get to a point where she's got her ultimate online and she can do damage. But unfortunately, she's not seeing very strong, Mogau's the one playing her a lot, right? And Mogau's not seeing almost any success with this god. Almost none. Kronos! Down here in like this B+ area. He's not the worst. His clear is okay. His damage is great late game. Early game you can get really camped early. You can get invaded on Kronos and you can get killed by warriors, which is a big problem. Kronos doesn't really mid lane. He's more of a solo laner because you want to just get him to the end game. You don't want him fighting with you the whole time. That's kind of why he ends up there. Cupid! Cupid's about B+. Cupid's like the opposite of Kronos for ADCs. Cupid is, in the early game, you are doing lots of damage with Heart Bomb. And at the end game, you're doing nothing. It's just one of those things where you become an ultimate bot and you're not really doing that much. But your early game, you can snowball. He's a great casual ranked character because early game snowball is really good for 10-minute surrenders, which happens fairly frequently in those settings. But as far as rank goes, very meh. Fenrir is a great character. We have him up in this A+ tier. Very strong right now. Good in the solo lane and jungle. Could be played support. You probably shouldn't be playing him over other tankier characters. Solo lane, he can be getting Bluestone Pendant. He does well. Both his jump and his brutalized proc. Bluestone for the bleed. But like some people like adapting or really thriving with this character. Other people are staying away from him completely. He does have a different feel to him compared to other junglers, which is where we're seeing him majorly. But he can also be played in the solo lane, so let's not forget that. Freya, S tier. Freya is a character that we are not super probably comfortable seeing at such a high place. Freya has a very high pick right now in competitive. Not necessarily, she's not getting banned, right? But she has a very strong pick right now in competitive play. She is getting banned sometimes against people like Paradigm, right? Fun Ballers Freya. She's getting a little bit banned in North America, but she's just doing really strong. She's playing ADC. She's AFKing until she gets her try items on. She gets her power boots, her fatalis, and her demonic grip, and then you get hit by Freya, and it hurts really good. It hurts really good, and nobody enjoys that. Nobody wants to get hit by that. You give her 20 minutes, she comes online, she does Freya stuff. It also helps that she's magical damage. Gab up here in our S tier. He's one of these characters that's not getting banned, but he is getting picked. You're only seeing him in the support role right now, but he's doing extremely well in the support role. Geb Shield will always make this character viable. Guan Yu is at about A tier. He's at a good point of balance. We're not seeing Guan Yu thrive. We're seeing Guan Yu played, right, in competitive since the change, but his showings have been very lackluster for the most part. He's not doing so strong. His support is still very meh because of how squishy he is comparatively to other characters in the support role. You're seeing him in the solo lane. Is he as strong as other solo lane characters? No, he's not. He does bring something different to the table because of the heal, but give or take. Hades. We got Hades up at A+. Hades is viable in two roles, both the mid and the solo lane. He's not completely controlling the solo lane like he used to because of how strong Bluestone Pendant is, but he still has a complete control on the mid lane as far as clear goes, allowing him to get the mid harpies. Oh boy. Oh boy, not a very strong character. I picked Boy before I picked some of those other guys below him, but Hebo falls into the Anubis syndrome. A lot of damage. Very risky. High risk, high reward. Ultimate puts him out of position. But you snowball, you get out of control, you do 500 damage with each of your abilities 15 minutes into the game, and you do shot people. You know, risk reward, risk reward. They pick Fenrir and you immediately lose the game. Risk reward, risk reward. Hal's actually at a decent point of balance right now. Right here, about A tier. If we're in EU, maybe even higher rated. But she's pretty balanced right now. Taking her blue buffs does give her a bit of a hard time in the laning phase if you invade her with a warrior comp. Her mid lane is very okay, but you're mainly seeing her in the solo lane. You kind of want her to AFK, get some levels, come into the team fights with her max rank heal. She comes in, she throws you a 300 hit point heal. They throw down a weakening curse, you cleanse off some stuff, you heal again. Even if you have the weakening on you, you're still healing for like half of it. Not the worst. Hel over Chang'e though, because of how much stronger Hel's healing is comparatively to Chang'e. They turn on at about that same time. Hercules. Hercules is actually doing fairly strong right now. He is doing well over in the solo lane. If you're Trix Tank, you're playing him support because Trix Tank. But other than that, you're pretty much looking at Hercules over in the solo lane. Doing very strong right now. Bluestone makes him do a lot of damage. He can full clear the wave. He can do a lot of damage to you. He still has a sustain from his 3, and his ultimate still does a lot of damage. His level 5 kill potential is very strong. Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. Hoo-yee! Hoo-yee! Perfectly balanced. Perfectly balanced Hunter. Good area control ultimate. Ricochet is an incredibly hard skill to master, but if you do and you get tri-bounced by Ricochet like I did the other day and you get one shot on a support, you just go, shucks. It's just the worst feeling, and it does happen. But he has his time and place in team compositions he fits into. Hoonbots. Hoonbots up here in this A+ tier. One of the better junglers right now. Not controlling matches, not really giving the ebb and flow, but does provide a whole bunch in terms of team fight potential. Not seeing as much play as he probably should, but Hunbots with the crit passive, with his ultimate, with the fact that he does very well against Janus, because he can follow Janus through portals, and Janus is in the meta right now, also very strong. Isis. She's actually perfectly balanced. I think that might be one that people actually disagree with. I think people might expect to see Isis higher, but Isis has been seeing a lot less competitive play lately. Other mids have come into the meta. She's not winning nearly as much as you would think she was. She was winning a lot more. The weakening curse nerf did help her a little bit, but her control is not being as strong as it used to be. Her damage output isn't the same as, say, like an Wash. People are finding out how to counter her, what to build against her, how to play against, what characters to pick. She's falling out of the meta. Janus, on the other hand, is in the meta. Yeah, Janus, so strong right now. Ulti across the map, take your team. Once you ulti across the map, portal back to the other side of the map. Once you go to that side of the map, threshold back to the other side of the map. Meanwhile, throw out unstable vortexes and hit the entire team for 500 damage a pop for every 5 seconds. Probably the strongest mid in the game right now. Not really seeing bans, but is seeing a lot of picks. Seeing a lot of good stuff from Janus. But not necessarily getting first, second picked right now. Kali not doing too shabby for herself. Hyper carry, she's doing really well with characters like Gad, Khepri, healers, right? She's doing strong with these healer compositions that are people are running right now. I expect to see her a lot more in EU, where they really like running these healers. Khepri up here in S tier. You pick him for the opposite reason of why you pick Geb. Geb, late game focused, keep my team alive. Khepri, early game focused, keep my team alive while clearing the wave, looking for kills early. But Geb, late game, Athena late game, greater sign Khepri late game. Just how it is. There's no messing with it. Kukulkan! Kukulkan down here in this B tier. Kukulkan is like Hebo if Hebo ult was way harder to hit. Right? Kukulkan ult's like, I'm ulting, it's coming, here it is. Hebo ult's like, I'm here, it's this big, I go blah! And I do the same amount of damage to Kukulkan ult. He just has a hard time hitting things. His tornado's not as strong as it used to be. If you could buy Bluestone Pendant, though, and it procced on Tornado, I'm just saying. But you can't. So, he's not that strong. Kumba! Kumba actually doing not so bad right now, dude. Kumba is right here up in this balanced tier, dude. First time I've said this in a long time. The extra half a second root on Kumba's 2 is very strong. The little bit of extra damage on the ultimate is strong. He has good setup. He's doing good in the damage department right now in terms of supports go. He obviously thrives well with Blink. And now you can get another thing instead of Hog. He's actually doing alright. I hate to admit it, but the fat man isn't doing too shabby. Loki! Loki's like B+. Loki's a ranked pub slump character. You're not seeing Loki in competitive play because he's not that strong competitive play. You don't get the same level of split push off with characters that are not... with people that are on a team, not necessarily... you have way more communication than ranked. Yeah, Loki's going to pub stomp you in ranked, but you're not going to see a Loki pub stomp in competitive. It's just not the same level of play. At the max level of play, you just don't got Loki at the same thing. Also, Loki decoy does not proc on Bluestone. If it did, he'd probably be higher because that clear would be silly nonsense. Medusa. Medusa's pretty balanced right now. She's a hunter that's really doing strong in the early game. She's pretty much like the #1 early game hunter that's being picked right now. She doesn't do as much late game as she has been in the past. Her win record isn't as strong as it was when she was released. She's been periodically kind of receiving those nerfs. Now that people have been playing against her for a long time, you don't really get hit by the stone gaze anymore unless it's a really strong, like around the corner stone gaze. You're going to see her destroy in the early game, get some kills off, but you make it to the late game, and if you're going against Artemis, Apollo, Freya, Rama, any of these hunters, you're going to get destroyed in the late game. Mercury! Mercury down here in this B+ tier. Mercury, a character that a lot of people play really poorly right now. Played at the top level, he does a lot of damage, and he's fairly hard to kill because of the double getaway skills. You got to be very safe with how you play him. You got to be very curious with how you build him, sometimes working in things like Heartseeker. He can be a very, very difficult character to play and to build, but at the top level of competitive play, he can do an insane damage output. Neith's fine. Neith is essentially Medusa with a little bit of global presence, right? Neith's teamfight isn't as strong as Medusa, but Neith does have the capability to keep ulting the solo lane to give your solo laner kills over and over and over and over and over again. It's not so bad. You basically just try to feed your mid and solo lane. That's all you do on Neith. Nem, not so strong right now. Down here in this B+B tier, doesn't really matter. The problem with Nem is she's so dependent on Hog for jungle clear. Her jungle clear is so bad. Her ganks are still good because the ultimate, she doesn't obviously bring that much CC to the table. But her jungle clear is atrocious. If you don't clear fast enough because you're Nemesis, then you don't get to the mid-harpies. You don't get to the mid-harpies, that means you don't get the other mid-harpies. You don't get the other mid-harpies, that means now you're at least a full level behind. You're full level behind, they hit level 5 as you're level 4. Then they attack you, they kill you, now you're there level 6 when you're level 4, and then it's over. Seems crazy, seems ridiculous, but that's exactly how it goes. Neja. He's doing fine. Actually really strong with Bluestone. With Ring Toss is actually a disgustingly nasty combo. Sash into the ultimate's always a good combo. Nothing crazy with him. Nox sucks. I love Nox. I love Nox's kit. I think it's fun. I don't think it's good. I think Nox went from having an awful kit or a great kit that wasn't fun to a fun kit that's awful. All of your damage is reliant on your 2-1 combo. The most people you can hit with that combo is one person because your one only hits one person. Super unreliant damage. Old Nox is way better. Nuwa, we got up here in this A+ tier. She's getting a lot of love in NA and EU from the mid laners. Her global ultimate's doing a lot of damage. People realize that minions plus shards is like, or plus the 3 shining metal is like destroying people's health. The fog isn't bad. It takes off things like brutalize. She can be used as a counter pick. She's a very strong character right now. Odin, always been kind of around this A tier in the balance. Viable in several roles. Jungle, solo, support. He's basically always been a counter pick, and he still is a counter pick. Do they have healing? Yes. Pick Odin. There you go. Osiris, a top pick right now for solo lane. Does well with Bluestone because of the 1-2 combo. Pretty much you can throw out that scythe all the time, getting the bonus damage from Bluestone. And then, of course, throw down the 2 as well for the extra damage combat. Combine those for another slow, then your scythe's back up, it does well. Poseidon. Poseidon perfectly balanced. You can counter build Poseidon, and that's how you beat him. You build an Aegis, bada bing, bada boom. He can't hit you with Kraken. He can't hit you with Kraken. He's barely doing any damage outside of Trident. Trident early game does do a lot of damage, but, you know, what are you going to do? What Ra's just not that safe. As far as mid laners go, he gets killed so often. He's just not... He gets countered by a lot of gods. Even though healing is a little bit better because of the weakening curse nerf, he's not really seeing more play. He's very, very okay. Very okay. Not my favorite right now. Rom is one of the best hunters right now. Up here in this A+ region. He's kind of on the same level as Apollo, Rom. We're going to probably have Shibalanke up here. All of these hunters kind of on this same tier. A little bit different in what they do, but kind of all in that same tier. If you're Snoopy, then Rama's S. If you're not Snoopy, then Rama's probably A+. Ratatoskar. Ratatoskar is about A+. He's viable in the solo lane and the jungle, but he's not nearly as strong as he was before. Yeah, he still has the good global presence with his ultimate. He can still do good damage. He goes the green opal now for the heal. He has hard counters like Fenrir. Not the best, not the worst. Not the best, not the worst. Robin's at about... Ooh! Robin's at about this B+ tier. Honestly, I don't know what it is preventing Robin from getting to A tier. Oh wait, just kidding. It's his ultimate because it sucks. It doesn't suck. It's not the worst. The problem with his ultimate has always been the same, which is that his ultimate actually doesn't do damage. It heals the enemy player. Little known fact, Robin ulties, you fly and kick the enemy, they heal for half their health. That's the problem. Make his ultimate do a little bit of damage, all of a sudden Robin is pretty good. Scylla really not doing so strong right now. Down here in this like B+ tier. Unfortunately for Scylla, the game is super reliant right now on lane clear, and Scylla has no lane clear. In order to lane clear, you have to have spells that do damage early. She can't full clear a wave until level 9, which means you're not getting mid-harpies. And if you're not getting mid-harpies, that means you hit level 5 late. If you hit level 5 late, that means you got killed at level 4, or your ADC lane got killed on a rotation. If that happens, now all of a sudden you're behind. If you get a magical pot to deal with it, now all of a sudden it's like level 7 when you have to do it. Level 7, you're full clearing the wave. You still got killed early, you lost your magical pot, now you're even more behind. I love Scylla, I love doing damage with her ultimate, but it's just kind of the case. Serket. Serket's one of our top characters right now. Serket seeing a whole lot of bans. Serket seeing a whole lot of picks. Why? It's because Serket plus Blink is probably the silliest nonsense thing that has ever happened. Probably the silliest nonsense thing that has ever happened. Serket's in the solo lane. Serket blinks. She jumps. She dashes. You just got ganked in the ADC lane in a matter of 8 seconds. Is it fun? No, it's not fun. Not fun for anyone. Sobek's doing fine right now. He's perfectly balanced. You're not seeing him picked a lot because there's a whole lot of better supports right now. A bunch of great supports, but he's still doing good. Poor Sobek. It's not really viable in the solo lane anymore, though, which sucks. Because of how some Blue Sun is. Wukong's like, ba-da-doo-doo, it's a boo. I want to be up here. I am Sun Wukong. I live forever. I'm not in the book of life. But Sun Wukong, super strong right now. Viable in solo lane, jungle, support, ADC, mid. Anywhere you put Sun Wukong, as long as you got Bluestone, you're going to be A-okay. He is doing just dandy wherever you want to put him. Sylvanas at about A+ tier. Sylvanas is still a support you can totally look to be picking up. Are you picking him up before Khepri? Probably not. He still has great lane clear. He still has great presence in fights. He still has the heal, which is really strong, which of course you want to be abusing right now, how strong the heals are. But nothing crazy. Thanatos at about B+ tier right now. He's got a really strong early game, but he's not transitioning. If you don't get early game kills, you're in trouble. His Bluestone working with is okay. He's not the strongest with Bluestone. Could be worse, but not the greatest character. Thor! Thor up here in this A+ tier. Thor always been strong. At some point he's been completely broken, but he kind of fluctuates, not like out of the meta, but he fluctuates from being like the best jungler to like a very good jungler. Right now he's kind of in that point where he's a very good jungler. Tier seeing some good play. Putting him at this B+ tier. We have people like Divios playing tier now, showing that tier with the Bluestone pendant isn't doing too shabby. But we're not really seeing tier win right now. He gets tanky, he does decent damage, but he's not bringing the same presence of mind to fights that characters like Osiris, Bologna, Wukong are bringing. His competition. Ul. I want to see how this works. Nice, it forms another row. That is awesome. Woojer, A tier. He is pretty much the pinnacle point of balance for hunters. Did you hit your abilities and your auto attacks? You did awesome. Did you miss them? You probably lost. That's basically what Woojer comes down to. You hit it, you win. You miss it, you don't. Are they easy to hit? Not really. Vamana. I think my Vamana placement might bother some people, so let's just prepare for it. Alright. Woo-woo! I'm just kidding. He's an A tier though. I actually think Vamana is totally balanced right now. With Bluestone, he has 3 abilities that proc it. His can full clear the wave at level 2 with Red Pot and Bluestone. Is he more of probably a ranked casual god? Yeah, probably. But he's actually doing very strong right now. If you haven't played Vamana recently, I recommend go playing Bluestone Vamana and seeing how much damage that you actually output. I do recommend building him more bruiser-y ability-based than auto-attack-based and using your ultimate for sustain instead of the damage, and you'll find that your 2-3 combo is actually really destroying people. Vulcan. Vulcan's like B+. Nothing super crazy coming out from Vulcan. He's not bad. You land the ultimate combination and you do a lot of damage. If you're pretty prime, man, your Vulcan can be S. But we're not pretty primes. Our Vulcans are okay. We still get ganked and get killed. Shibaranke. Shibaranke's about A+. Chilling up here with our good old friends in the ADC. None of these ADCs really above each other right now. Shibaranke, super late game like an Artemis. Apollo, Rama, a little bit more early game than those two, but still leaning towards that late game as the more dominant ADCs are. Our new god up here in about this S tier, I think you're going to see him getting banned. I would lean him towards that way if I could. I would lean him towards S+, S. Super strong. Does a lot of damage right now. Can build full tank, thrives off of cooldown like Mail of Renewal. Really strong character. You're going to see him played. If he doesn't get changed from now until when he's available in the Pro League, you're going to see him played a whole ton in the jungle. You're going to see it coming. Ymir is higher. Ymir going into this A tier. You're seeing him in the jungle and the support role. He's doing well in both. He's not dominating anybody. You're not seeing Ymir and going, wow, this game's over because of that Ymir. He really just turned this game around, and it's not even close. But you are saying, oh, that was a good 2-man freeze. Zeus. Some would say, the god of gods. He's at about B tier. I'm going to give Scylla B+. I'd pick Scylla before I'd pick Zeus. I changed my mind a little bit on that one. Zeus is like Scylla, but even more so. Problems with Zeus has no getaway. He's kind of like Hebo, actually. That's actually good that they're on the same tier. That all makes sense. Tons of damage, no real getaway. Yeah, I mean that's basically what it comes down to. Tons of damage, no real getaway. Scylla's like a safer version of Zeus, so that's why she's up. There you go. You're allowed to change your mind when you make a tier list as you do other characters. So you're like, oh wait, I picked them before them or above them. There you go. Last pick, Donger. Honestly, I'd put him right there. I'd pick Zonkui at the same time I'd pick characters like Vulcan and Scylla. I'd pick him over Zeus, Hebo, and Kukulkan any day. He's very tanky. His heal's nice for sustain. His ultimate does a sneaky amount of damage combined with the bleed. He has decent CC. He's fairly tanky. Not a bad character at all. And this is about our final tier list. As it so happened to turn out, it actually did end up in a pretty symmetrical bell curve as we're looking at it. 4 on the top compared to 4 down here. We're only missing 1 off of this tier, 1 off of that tier, and then right there in the middle. I mean, this is pretty much as even as it gets, actually. Pretty much a perfect bell curve going on here. Yeah. So that's my tier list, guys. Agree with it or disagree, let me know. I mean, you don't have to agree with me. This is just my experience so far with these characters, with these patches, with how much I've played in the Pro League. In ranked is basically where this experience is coming from. So that's kind of that.